Welcome back to Son of Chelsea. Daniel Childs here. I don't have a lot of time today. I have to head off pretty soon, but I had to make a show today regarding Mike Maignan. That was kind of the big talking point or unknown about today for this first deadline of this weird two-part summer transfer window was whether Chelsea were going to be able to get a deal for Mike Maignan from AC Milan over the line before 7 p.m. as we head into the Club World Cup next week. Now, it seemed like it was going to go to the wire, but it seemed pretty positive that Chelsea and Milan were coming together in terms of evaluation. There was going to be a compromise felt. But now we have it from Fabrizio Romano that right now the deal is off between Chelsea and Milan for Maignan. Chelsea are not willing to meet the price that Milan want, the deal not proceeding in time for Club World Cup, and Chelsea apparently don't want to pay a Club World Cup tax. We will get back to that because I think that's a thread that may mean this deal is not completely dead yet. I'll speak to you about that. And Chelsea maintain full trust in Petrovic, Sanchez, Jorgensen and talent Mike Penders for goalkeeper role. I'm sure there'll be more like context and background around this. My instant reaction is disappointment, and not disappointment because of the Club World Cup. We're going to talk about this kind of in depth. I find the Club World Cup a little bit of a strange thing to approach because the consensus I'm seeing at the moment, and this may change when football actually gets going in America, is that, you know, it's a nice thing to be a part of. If we can win it, amazing, but there is fears around player fatigue, and if we don't win it, is it really that serious? My concern about our transfers has actually not that much to do with the Club World Cup. I think there is interesting things with the squad that Maresca has, with some of those new players coming in, players returning from loan. We'll cover all of that. It was not about getting Maignan in time for the Club World Cup. It's about Maignan being Chelsea's goalkeeper, first choice goalkeeper for the new season. Now, you could have just not got in for Maignan, said and maintained that we're happy with Georgia Petrovic after the season he's just had. We're happy with Robert Sanchez after the season he's just had, the way it ended. Mike Penders too. Seeing how the goalkeepers fare over pre-season, maybe something changes, but we're sticking to that principle. That's our belief. Over the past week, that has completely changed. Not only did we hear noises quickly after the season ended that both Petrovic and Sanchez were up for sale, links to the likes of West Ham and others, but then we went in for Mike Maignan, which signals that, no, you're not that happy. We heard, rumours that Maresca in particular was pretty adamant he wants a new goalkeeper. Once you go in for that choice, once you make that choice, you're making it pretty clear you're not content with your goalkeeping options and you're looking to upgrade. And Mike Maignan felt like a massive step in a positive direction for me because I think it would show a sign that the sporting directors, the transfer think tank, whatever it is at Chelsea, was adapting, was willing to be flexible, was willing to consider a different profile of player, a more experienced one, someone who is of the prime age, who can come in and instantly upgrade a vital position. It's going to cost you more. It's not going to give you much resale value, but the impact he could have could make up for that very quickly on the pitch in the upcoming seasons. And then when we heard about the price that Milan were asking, you were kind of like, that's not ridiculous. I mean, given what we paid for Philip Jorgensen, given what we paid for Robert Sanchez a couple of years ago, this is not the most insane valuation ever. But very quickly it became apparent that Chelsea were going to go nowhere close to that, or at least a major compromise would need to be found between both clubs if this deal was going to get over the line. And now we know it hasn't. Let's start with the first point of just, is this deal completely dead? The Club World Cup tax that, Chelsea are referencing, my hope is that that's a true thing that then comes back after the Club World Cup and Chelsea go back in for Mike Maignan and get this deal over the line. I find it slightly weird, and I hope it's just a negotiation tactic to say, if we can't sort it out now, we're going to walk away from Maignan. I hope that's just for now rather than the whole summer. It seems stupid to me that you would walk away from him just because you can't get him for the Club World Cup. Club World Cup, surely the same principles apply. Mike Maignan, the player, apparently, it's been reported consistently, is adamant. He doesn't want to stay at Milan. He ain't going to sign a new contract. He's either going to walk away for free next summer or he joins Chelsea. He's pushing to join Chelsea this summer. My hope is that means this is a deal that can still be done this summer, because Milan, logically, financially, are probably in a position where, just because of their own the finances within Serie A, AC Milan themselves are not like strapped, they don't have tons and tons of cash. We'll see that as a financially prudent deal to make later on in the window. So that doesn't mean, I'd like to think that's kind of maybe copium at the moment. But let's get to the sporting directors. We've been here before, we'll be here again. I mean, it kind of feels a little bit eerily reminiscent of 12 months ago when Michael Elise, that deal fell through. Twice Chelsea had the chance to make Michael Elise a Chelsea player. They failed to do so on both occasions. And kind of the policy of signing young players for sometimes very overinflated fees. But seemingly the sticking point comes with Mike Maignan, a player who, let's just talk about whether you think Maignan is the player we should be going for. France's number one goalkeeper. Number one and club captain for AC Milan, an historic club in European football. Even if they're not at the peak they were maybe 10, 15 years ago in European football history, still an incredible club, an incredible history of that club. To be number one, and also to be a number one in a time when he's helped lead them to titles, is something significant. Not just Chelsea fans excited about this deal, but people who watch Serie A, people who have watched Mike Maignan's career, cannot believe Chelsea were haggling over a price for a keeper of this quality. In the current market, when Ederson is unavailable, Donnarumma is unlikely to move from PSG, Alisson's not moving from Liverpool at the moment, you're looking for an instant upgrade, someone who's going to come in and very much sort out in an immediate way, an area that has been problematic and unsolved for Chelsea for a number of years. People were baffled that Chelsea were not going in and just getting this over the line quickly. But I think what to me it reflects is what we've known about these sporting directors and what they showed us not only in January but particularly last summer, the farcical nature, the unserious nature when you get into a negotiation for a serious player. I find it just on this particular occasion, it's not like Chelsea are being asked to pay 80 million for someone, where you can understand if someone's hesitant to do that. Listen, I know people may say, there's two lines of comeback that I've seen so far. It's like, well, if we've made a mistake before overpaying, why do it again? I think there's an obvious counter to that. But then also, it's only one example. It's only two examples. It's only three examples. There is a list of examples, a lot of them coming from the farcical summer of 2024, where we paid 45 million for Joao Felix, a player who has already left the club, is probably not coming back, has been ineffective twice at the club and has failed at multiple European clubs. I mean, AC Milan probably know that more than most in terms of his recent stint there. That's being fleeced. Keenan Dewsbury-Hall, a player who, all right, had a positive end to the year. I think people, obviously, because the year ended positively. But listen, not a transformational player. We paid over 30 million for that guy. Axel Disasi, we've paid over 30 million for him. Philip Jorgensen, Robert Sanchez. I probably listed more on X, but there are countless names in recent years we have paid substantial money for. And I just find it very bizarre that this is the sticking point, that this is the moment when we go, actually, we're not going to go in for this player. And I think for me, it's just Chelsea are delaying the inevitable. Either they're going to have to spend significant money to upgrade the first team eventually, or if we're successful, which we hope we are, you're going to have to then pay your players, your current players, a substantial wage as well. Because I suspect that Mike Maignan is not coming in for pittance, is he? Like, given his age. But why would he not? Another counter I've seen is that AC Milan have lowballed us. Italian clubs have lowballed us for our dead wood in recent years. And this is kind of us getting back at them. I don't really see it like that. The reason I don't see it like that is because people are acting like Mike Maignan is the comparative, player and transaction to Ruben Loftus-Cheek going to AC Milan a couple of years ago, Christian Pulisic, other deadwood, in days gone, whether it was Timothy Bakayoko going there on loan or other players too. Mike Maignan, as I've already stated, is their captain. He's a leader to that group. He's one of the world's best goalkeepers, or one of the Europe's best goalkeepers. That's kind of undeniable based on what he's done in his career. Them losing him is significant. It's the same probably to them as, let's look in the current first team. Maybe not to the extent of Cole Palmer, but, Moises Caicedo, someone who's very, very important to that current group. And losing him, they're going to have to replace him. And, when you don't have the money of the Premier League, of the Champions League, the vast finance difference in European leagues compared to the Premier League is huge. And we can't deny that. That's the reality. So Milan were not just going to bend over backwards and hand us Mike Maignan for £10 million and then shake our hands and thank us and walk away. They're obviously going to do their due diligence to try and get the most, extract the most for a player that is going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to replace in the short term. So that is just undeniable as well. And I just think it comes back to me of like, we're very early in this window. I can't judge this window early June. I'm going to have to judge it in September. But my worry is that I hope this isn't like the first sign of just us sticking with what we did last year. And I think it is falling at the first hurdle for the sporting directors. I said this post-season. Happy to be proven wrong about Enzo Maresca. Happy to see him achieve Champions League qualification and win the Conference League and feel that buzz and feel that positive momentum. Now it's on the people above Enzo Maresca to prove they can step up under pressure. And they've fallen at the first hurdle. I think that's undeniable. And whether you think Chelsea it needed to go in for Mike Maignan or not, the fact they did and the fact the briefings that are so public now come out, as usual with these sporting directors, it blows up in their face and it looks silly, it looks comical. And that is something that unfortunately I just don't want to see anymore. And I think it's very difficult to defend the sporting directors given the track record we have seen over a number of windows. My hope is this is part one of the Maignan saga this summer. And post-Club World Cup, Chelsea return for Mike Maignan because it's clearly someone they're interested in. I wouldn't be surprised if Maresca's given it the go-ahead. And, you know, if you've gone in for him, not only for that price, I think 5 million with the money that Chelsea are going to recruit from not only the Club World Cup, from the Champions League, from the Premier League, it's kind of a bit laughable how much money these Premier League clubs get now. And this is the breaking point. For a player who, for a young squad that's still developing, that we've talked about, needs maturity, needs experience, needs kind of that ready-made icing on top of some young talent that clearly has grown and developed and matured in their own way. This seemed like a no-brainer. This seemed like the one that could have really only capitalized on the positive momentum coming out of Wroclaw. And my fear is that it's only going to kind of cement, in my mind, in many others' minds, kind of the unseriousness of the sporting directors, not of the players, not of the head coach. I mean, I think what they did at the end of last season was commendable. It's just, are they now going to be improved upon? Are the sporting directors actually going to go out there and construct a window that gives Maresca the tools to go again, to be stronger in the Premier League, to be stronger in the Champions League? Because Chelsea need to sign a higher calibre of player. That is undeniable this summer because they're going to be playing in a higher calibre of European competition. I think there are going to be more demands on us doing better in the Premier League. And with the reaction of probably other rivals around us in the Premier League, you've got to be prepared for that as well. You can't stand still. Liverpool are not standing still. Man City are not standing still. Arsenal are probably not standing still. You've got to keep moving forward. You've got to keep progressing. And I'm not sitting here and saying that Chelsea should break their whole wage structure and sign 100 million players endlessly. No, every deal is different. You know, the amount I'm willing to pay for Mike Maignan in this case, I don't think even 30 million is overpaying for what you could get back from Mike Maignan. Obviously, Jamie Gittin, 60 million, I'm starting to ask questions. I'm like, yeah, probably not the smartest deal. That's the context of each player and each transfer. In this context, I think for a guy who could very much, and is clearly willing in himself to move to Stamford Bridge, I really hope this isn't the end of Maignan link, but it's just, I think if anything, it's an example of the things we're lacking from our sporting directors at the moment in top negotiations. I think that's what it mainly proves. I'm not sitting here and saying that Georgia Petrovic, Mike Penders and Robert Sanchez can't do anything good for Chelsea. You know my opinions on Georgia Petrovic. I'm a big fan of his. I think he probably should have remained at Chelsea. He's coming off the back of a really positive season. And if this leads to him getting a substantial opportunity at Chelsea and he takes it, brilliant. But if you go in for a serious player, you make that deal happen. And when it so publicly blows up in your face for not an insane deal that most people are kind of looking at and going, that doesn't seem like ridiculous money in the current era, I think what it reflects is the unseriousness or the gap in just an ability to get deals over the line for a certain calibre of player that has been questioned from the moment these sporting directors walked in. So until that happens, that question mark remains. That doesn't mean this transfer window is now a failure. No, it doesn't. That doesn't mean the summer's a failure. Of course, that's just hyperbole. We can't judge that until September, August, late August time when the season properly gets going. And for me, this doesn't mean, let's freak out because of the Club World Cup. No, I think Chelsea have the tools to especially just get through the group stage and then see what happens there. That's not my frustration with not getting Mike Maignan. It has very little, if anything, to do with the Club World Cup. And I hope that if their stance is tax, they post Club World Cup, stick to those words and go back in for Mike Maignan. My fear is they've tried to be serious, and it's kind of that briefing we got a few months ago of considering being serious for older players. They've considered it, they've tried, they failed, and now let's just go back to what we were doing anyway. Is my fear, because we've seen it. That's the evidence we've had so far, and it doesn't mean you can't get good players out of that. It's just, I think this was a great opportunity. What do you guys think? Please do let me know. Interact in the comments below. Like, subscribe, check out all the content on the channel already. Of course, as we've alluded to multiple times in today's show, the Club World Cup is upon us, so we will be obviously previewing and looking ahead and covering whatever goes on from a Chelsea perspective in America. So thank you guys once again. Follow across the socials at SonOfChelsea, and I will see you soon. All the best.